Have you ever caught a glimpse of something in the corner of your eye and swear that it's watching you? Well, for the main character of this story, the feeling wasn't just in its head. Hello, I'm Cece. Welcome back to the Crucible of Character, where today we have another scary story from Reddit. Thank you all so much for all of your support that you've been giving the recent videos that we've been doing. If you enjoyed today's video, please consider liking and subscribing. And as always, if there's something different that you would do in this situation, please let me know down in the comments below. Anyways, today's story is entitled, There's a Man That Lives in the Corner of My Eye. And it was posted to the r/NoSleep subreddit by It's Me KB. And it starts like this. You know what I'm talking about, right? You're in the middle of work or doing something fun, and you get the strange feeling you're being watched, only to turn and see maybe a mere glimpse of a shadow of something before it disappears into the deepest nooks of your cornea. Yeah, in my case, there's a man. Well, I can't actually prove there's a man, but I know he's there, watching me from where I can't see. It's like I can sense him watching me, like when I'm alone. I'm not really alone. It all started maybe a month ago. I work in a school as a night shift janitor, usually from 2 p.m. to 12 a.m. Not the best job in the world, but hey, somebody's got to do it. It's not a hard job, it's basically what you'd expect. Cleaning off desks, sweeping up dust, and mopping up any poor kid's regurgitated lunch. Like I said, not the best job. Anyways, it wasn't a particularly exciting night to say the least. I just did what I normally did on every other day I had work. I'd usually get up around noon after sleeping in for so long because of all the gaming I did the night before. Then, I'd make myself breakfast. Well, I guess it would technically be lunch. Doesn't matter. I'd make myself cereal and coffee regardless. After that, I'd get dressed in my work clothes, which is usually something I wouldn't mind getting dirty. After that, it's about a long and painstaking 40-minute drive to the high school. I won't say the high school's real name for the sake of privacy, but let's just call it Hillcrest High School. Before I continue, let me describe to you what type of school Hillcrest is, so that you know what I deal with every day. You see, Hillcrest isn't one of those normal suburban schools you find lying off the side of some random highway in a populated area that has a grand football field behind it, packed with life every Friday night. It's an old, quiet, poor, run-down school that doesn't even have a football field or football team, for that matter. And when I say old, I mean it's as old as crap, like built in the 1850s and placed in the middle of nowhere by an idiotic politician in charge of education. And trust me, it shows. Wonder why it takes me so long to get to work? Because there's no main highway that leads to it, just a beaten-down gravel road that stretches on for miles. The outside, a foundation that consists of nothing but crumbling red bricks used to replace the molding lumber underneath, smothered in decaying concrete, resting in a large open field that spans 1 or 2 long grassy, weed-filled and insect-infested miles. The inside, the hallways filled with scuffed yellow, used to be white, tiles, and thin paper drywall walls that make up every room. The dim white lights that flicker from time to time, which means I'll have to replace them soon, wrap up the whole vibe and give the school a nice, eerie, unsettling feeling as soon as you step foot into the building. Only about 100 or 200 people attend Hillcrest because really that's the max capacity the school has space for. It's not big in the slightest, and I'm still surprised that it's open. But I'm not complaining. The fewer kids, the easier my job is. I'd arrived at Hillcrest High School at around 2:30 that day. I remember the time clearly because I kept cursing myself for being late. I hurriedly jumped out of my car and headed inside to clock myself in. I couldn't really afford to be a second later. I was never the best at showing up on time, but today I showed up a lot later than normal. I don't know what it was, but I just didn't want to be there. As I reached the entrance to Hillcrest, I put my hands on the dead, cold handle of the steel door in front of me, the metallic surface stealing every ounce of warmth in my body. Swinging open the door, a gust of even colder, ventilated air hit my body, making every hair stand up on its tippy toes. I took a deep breath before walking down the crooked halls and into the break room that looked like it was held together by a couple of glue sticks and hope. A familiar ding sounded off as I used my punch card. I told you the school was old to clock in. Since the school was so small, it was relatively easy for one person to manage by themselves, so there was only one daytime janitor and one nighttime janitor. At this point, it should only be me in the building by myself. It should have been, anyways. Now, I don't remember the exact way these events went down, so I'll break it down the best I can. 3 p.m. There are only 3 hallways in Hillcrest High School. One hallway for freshmen and sophomores, one hallway for juniors and seniors, and finally one hallway for elective classes. You know, stuff like band and choir. You get the gist. I would normally start with the freshman and sophomore hallway and kind of work my way around to the others after. First, I'd wipe down all furniture in each classroom. Then, I'd go back around and dust and mop all the rooms. Then, spot mop any mess that was left behind by the kids, before finally taking out all the trash and leaving for the night. Easy, but definitely time-consuming. 5 p.m. Almost finished with the freshman-sophomore hallway now. It took about 2 hours, but I finally did it. Unfortunately for me, the freshmen/sophomores today decided to be unusually messy, throwing anything they could find on the floors, which is why it took me so long to clean up. They don't normally do that. You wouldn't expect a freshman/sophomore in high school to act like a 5th grader, but sure enough, it happens. Pencils, folders, books, and even things from the teachers' desks were thrown on the floor, like it was done specifically to spite me. It's never this bad. I even know the teachers of this hallway, and they're super friendly, even picking up students' things off the floor before I even get to do it to help me out. So why was it so bad today? I shrugged it off, trying to just ignore the strange occurrence, but in the back of my mind, a feeling of unease started to make itself comfortable. Better get back to cleaning so I can finish on time. 7 p.m. Almost done with the junior/senior hallway. Nothing strange to report there. In fact, there was barely anything to clean up at all, so I guess the freshman/sophomore was really just messy after all. I was pretty disappointed in the disrespectful way the teachers let their kids trash their rooms today. I get it's my job to clean up messes, but they shouldn't intentionally leave one. It's just so rude, you know? It pisses me off. Anyways, I only have one room left in the junior/senior hallway. But I'll be sure to have a little chat with the teachers in the morning. 7:24 p.m. The sun is starting to set on the horizon, disappearing with a yellow and orange glow. While taking out the trash of the last room in the junior/senior hallway, I suddenly heard a loud bang coming from the other side of the school in the hallway where the electives are held. Now don't get me wrong, this scared the absolute crap out of me. It made my stomach drop about 6 feet below. But I wasn't exactly surprised either. Being the old school that Hillcrest is, there are many cracks and crevices for animals of many kinds like birds, rats, raccoons, and even cats to try and sneak their way in and wreak havoc on anything they could find. I remember a particular time where the biggest animal I've ever found in the school, a large dog, was jumping around in a classroom, tearing up colored paper while managing to flip over multiple desks. It took a while for me to get him out, and even longer to clean up the mess he made, but eventually I did. I took a deep sigh of annoyance, knowing that whatever animal got in this time, I would have to get out again, and hopefully not contract rabies. I loosened my shoulders and hung my head as I slowly dragged myself to the final hallway of the night where the animal was. I truly don't get paid enough for this. 8:32 p.m. At this point, it's completely dark outside, and I've checked every single room in the elective hallway for any sign of animals, without luck, except for the band room. As I stand outside, looking at its large steel doors covered in colorful sheet paper spelling out band, with a little drawn tuba on the side, I go up nervously, bracing myself for any type of creature to be behind these doors. I reach out for the handle, twisting the knobs and opening the large steel doors that give out a drawn-out shriek due to their rusty hinges. I then flicked on the light switch, waiting for the delayed lights to flicker on with the same white hue that every other classroom has. Just 3.5 more hours. Just gotta make it to 12, I said, taking slow, cautious steps into the band room. You see, the way the band room is set up like this, it's an extremely large room, probably the biggest in the entire school. It has gray, cracking concrete floors and very tall, thin, white walls that reach towards the sky covered in soundproofing barriers. Across the dirty concrete floor rest a bunch of black desk chairs for students to sit in, as well as black music sheet stands sitting right in front of them. The music room is so big, it also has narrow, small, carpeted stairs that lead up to a balcony with several small noise-canceling rooms in the back for students' private practices. The rooms upstairs are no bigger than a closet and can only really hold one student at a time. But with 3 of those types of rooms up there, multiple students are able to practice at once, although it's nothing special. It's probably where most of the funding went when the building of the school occurred. As I took steps deeper into the band room, I noticed a large beige filing cabinet that had been tipped over on its side and was now resting in the middle of the floor, knocking over several chairs and stands on its way down. Great. It must have been a pretty big animal then. I walk over to it and try to lift the filing cabinet back up, pulling at it with all my strength as I let out several grunts of struggle. Then, I stop trying to lift it as a sudden, shocking realization hits me. Wait a minute. There's no way an animal could knock this thing over. Even if it was big, this thing weighs over 200 pounds. A human could barely move this thing. How the heck did it fall over? My eyes then quickly survey the surrounding area and managed to wander up to the balcony. What I saw next made my soul nearly leap to heck for how scared I was. I only saw it for a split second before it disappeared from my sight, but I swear I saw 2 large, thin, shadowy legs disappear around the corner of one of the doors of the small open rooms upstairs on the balcony. Holy crap, I said to myself, frozen in fear. Great, so there's a squatter in this school, and he's hiding upstairs. What should I do? Should I call the police? It's the most logical option, but there's no way they'll make it in here in time. At this time of night, in the middle of nowhere, this guy will be gone by the time they're even halfway here. Should I just run? No, I can't. The school would definitely fire me for not doing my job and maintaining it at night. Great, more crap to handle. And by myself too. Although I didn't want to, I somehow scraped enough courage into my soul to start walking towards those stairs. Every step I took made the wooden carpeted steps creak. One step, then another, creak, 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 until finally I reached the top, facing 3 smaller steel doors, all completely pitch black on the inside. I take a look at my watch and it reads 10:02 p.m. Okay, game plan here. Kick the guy out, then finish the rest of my shift in peace, and let the school know about the incident in the morning. All I need to do is confront the man behind one of these doors, and hopefully he'll leave without a fight. Just please be a harmless homeless person looking for shelter and not some deranged lunatic wanting to kill me. I decided to open up the first door on the left. As I place my now shaking hand on the knob of the first door, my whole body shudders. I'll do it quickly. On 3. 1, 2, 3. I slam open the first door so hard it makes the walls shake. I quickly flip on the light switch, fully preparing myself to see someone there. But there isn't anyone there. Just a black chair and a music sheet stand, as there should be. Which means the man is in one of the other 2 doors. I shut off the light and close the door of the first door, while mentally bracing myself to open the second door. My heart was racing at this point. It's a 50-50 shot that he's either in this one or the other one. I braced myself against trying to put on the most authoritative and intimidating face I can, preparing myself to yell my lungs out at some poor homeless fool that wandered his way inside on 3, just like last time. 1, 2, 3. I slam the door open and flip on the lights as fast as possible, with a fierce look in my eyes, only to see no one again. I found no one, which means I now know which door this guy is hiding behind. Part of me was glad that I haven't been able to find anyone yet, because who really wants to come face to face with someone crazy enough to break into a school at 10 o'clock at night But the other part of me was annoyed and fed up and wanted this guy out of here as soon as possible. You know what? Screw it. It's late. I'm getting this over with. I rush up to the final door on the right and bash into it with my fist. Hey, whoever's in here needs to get out right now or I'm calling the police, I scream, trying to put on the most masculine voice I can. No response. Crap. I really am going to have to take this guy out by force. On 3 then. 1, 2. I stop, hesitating for a moment. 3. I burst open the door, already swinging my fist around like a madman, not even bothering to turn the lights on. I then trip and fall over something, before swiftly tasting the floor. I lay there for a moment, in pain, before jumping up and flipping the switch. Wait, no one. No, that can't be. There was someone up here. But no, I know what I saw. There has to be someone up here. Could it really be my imagination? I stood in front of the 3rd door, facing the inside with absolute confusion. Then I heard a cough. It was subtle and not very loud at all, but the room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop, so it was pretty easy to figure out where the cough came from. Right behind me, I turn with the speed of lightning, so fast my eyes don't even adjust, only to see no one. Seriously? No one. Am I going crazy? Insane? Or is the night shift finally catching up to me after all these years? Whatever it was, something strange was going on, and I was not going to be a part of it. I quickly turned off the lights and made sure all 3 doors were shut, then rushed down the stairs as fast as I could, without tripping. I then ran out of the band room, slamming the large metallic doors behind me. Wait. Crap. I completely forgot my cleaning supplies in there. Sure, I could just leave them, but without them I wouldn't be able to finish cleaning the rest of the rooms. How am I going to explain why I didn't finish my job to a bunch of angry teachers whose rooms weren't clean? What? Say that I maybe saw something and was too scared to finish, and I would easily get fired on the spot. I decided against my best judgment to go back and at least retrieve my cleaning supplies. Then in the morning explain to the band teacher what happened to the filing cabinet. As I headed back in, a gut-wrenching feeling hit me. Every voice in my head screamed at me to turn around, but I continued regardless. As I turned the corner to face the large open band room once more, I noticed all my cleaning supplies somehow neatly stacked on top of the filing cabinet lying in the center of the room. I speed-walked over to it, trying to leave as soon as possible, but as soon as I went to pick everything up, I felt it, like someone was staring right at me, and then I noticed who it was. I dared not to turn my head toward it, but up on the balcony, I could see it out of the corner of my eye. A large, thin, shadowy man, with long, unnatural appendages and a twisted figure. The man was easily over 6 feet tall, but hung his head low and to the side, just staring down at me. I couldn't see every detail since I could only see him through my peripheral vision, so I couldn't make out any facial features or human-like appearances, if he even had any. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't human. But it was trying to be. I couldn't move, frozen in fear of the thought that any second this creature, this oddly shaped man, would sprint down to me and swallow me whole. I closed my eyes, praying that when I opened them it would disappear. That it was all really just in my head, and that I was just really tired. Whatever the case, real or not, I had to make a decision to move. On 3, I would open my eyes and look at that thing, then run to my car as fast as my legs would carry me. On 3 then. 1. My heart began to race, its tantalizing, rhythmic beat filling my eardrums. 2. I began to sweat drastically, pools of it forming at the base of my feet. Please don't be real, please don't be real, please don't be real. 3. I opened my eyes and twisted my head towards that gong so quickly that I almost gave myself whiplash. As I opened my eyes in its direction, I then saw nothing. I let out a nervous laugh of relief, just staring at the spot where the man once was. So I am just losing it after all. For moments, I just stood there in disbelief that the man actually wasn't there. Then I felt something on my shoulder, a hand. I could see it in the corner of my eye. Oh crap, a hand is on my shoulder. A large hand, black as night, with different-sized fingers and long, sharp nails. The hand felt rugged and heavy, almost making me tip over. Crap, crap, crap. That thing is standing right behind me, and worst of all, it's actually real. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I need to run now. I need to run. I fried my head as my flight or fight instincts kicked in, although as soon as I threw the punch, it connected with nothing but the air, because as soon as I turned my head all the way around, nothing was behind me. I couldn't miss this chance. I ran straight out of the band room, forgetting all of my cleaning supplies. As I ran, I only looked straight back to make sure the man wasn't chasing me. I needed to get wham! My head burst against the blue rusted lockers that sit on the other side of the hallway parallel to the band room doors. I fell to the floor with a large crash. As I held my head in my pain, my instincts kicked back in again, and I got back up to run. I ran down the crooked hallways, my shoes squeaking across the scuffled tile floors. This time I kept my head straight forward to see where I was going, only looking back occasionally. I looked back expecting the man to chase me, but as soon as I looked back, nothing was there. I let out more crazed laughter as I sprinted towards the nearest exit. I looked back again instinctively, barely turning my head over my shoulders. This time I wasn't so lucky. Out of the corner of my eye, there was the man, large, twisted, and terrifying, sprinting at me on all fours like some rabid animal. It let out an ear-piercing scream that was so high-pitched and loud it shattered the dusty trophy case as I sprinted past. The glass flew out from the case into the hall. I lost it, screaming in absolute fear. I ran as fast as I ever had. Warm teardrops fell down my face as I started to hyperventilate. Then I started to slow down. No. My stupid body had reached its limits. I guess that's what not working out for years gets you. I then tripped up on my own feet and fell face first into the hard, cold tile floors. At this point, I was so tired and out of breath. I had just accepted my fate. I lay there waiting for the creature to devour me, or do whatever it was going to do. But it never did. I'd been lying there for multiple minutes, definitely enough time for the man to catch up to me, but he never attacked me. I got back up on my feet and turned around, and again there was no one. Again, the man had seemingly disappeared out of thin air. Was he really real? No, he had to be. The glass in the trophy case was still shattered, lying out in the middle of the hallway floor. As I looked around frantically, I slowly took steps backwards towards the exit. Then, I backed up right into the wall. Wait, a wall? In the middle of the hallway? There couldn't be one. The exit was supposed to be right behind me, but there I was, my back to a wall. I reached my hand behind me without trying, feeling around the wall. It was stiff and rugged and warm and organic, and it wasn't a wall. It was the man. He was standing right behind me, and I had just backed up into him. As I stand there, frozen, my hand on the man, I could feel his warm breath brushing the hairs on the top of my head. He let out another ear-piercing screech, and I used both my hands to cover my ears as they started to slightly bleed. Some light bulbs shattered around us, making the atmosphere darker. As if it wasn't scary enough, the man wasn't attacking me. He was just standing behind me, almost as if he was taunting me. Like he was just out of my range of sight, and no matter how hard I tried to see him, I couldn't. Like he wanted me to be in constant fear of him. I slowly lowered my arms to my side. The exit. The exit is right behind me, and the man is only about 30 feet away. All I have to do is make it to the exit. I gathered up the rest of my remaining strength I barely had and closed my eyes. Then I turned towards the exit and opened my eyes. Of course, the man wasn't in front of me anymore. But I could still feel his heavy breath and relentless gaze on the back of my head. I took each step carefully, as to not make any sudden movements to invoke the man into attacking me. Every step I took, he took, like he was walking right on top of me. Slowly but surely I made it to the exit. I cautiously opened the metallic door and stepped outside. The cool night breeze brushed against my face. Then, I sprinted as fast as I could to my car. I fumbled with the keys before finally unlocking my gray 2001 Kia Spectra. I hopped in, started the car, and hit the gas. My car's tires made a screeching sound much like the man's as I burst out of the school parking lot, leaving tire marks in my tracks. I had done it. I've successfully avoided the man and gotten away alive. I don't know what he wanted from me, if anything at all, but I didn't have to worry about that now. I'm calling in first thing tomorrow and quitting. I've had enough of this crap. The school lights that I had left on grew faint as I drove farther and farther away from it. The tension that had been overwhelming my soul had faded away, and relief washed over my body. I went to adjust my rearview mirror when something caught my eye. Then, in the corner of my eye, I had seen it. The man sitting in the backseat of my car. I screamed the loudest I had ever screamed before. The man screamed too. His scream shattered my windshield. I closed my eyes before hearing an even louder boom as everything went dark. The next thing I remembered from that night was the blinding lights of the hospital and the subtle beep of the vital monitor. Apparently I had crashed my car head-on into a tree. Thankfully, I didn't have any major injuries, just a few cuts and bruises. I was discharged about 2 days after the crash, doctors clearing my case as a mental breakdown, soon after I got a call from the school. I was fired for vandalism and failing to do my job. I'd have to pay for any broken or damaged property, too. I know I didn't cause any of the damages. I know it was the man, but to be honest, I was fine with that. I didn't want to work there anymore anyways. I let out a large sigh of relief as the sun hit my face, spreading its golden rays across my skin. The nightmare is finally over. Or, at least that's what I thought. I thought the man was somehow connected to the school, and that once I left, the man would disappear. But he didn't. He was always there. I could feel his gaze, feel his breath, and sense his presence. Every time I went to brush my teeth and looked in the mirror, I'd see a glance of him. Every time I'd rinse my hair in the shower and had to close my eyes, I knew he was watching. Every time I would go to sleep, he'd be there in the corner of my eye, at the end of my bed watching me. In my rearview mirror, in the back of my car seat, behind me everywhere I went, in the corner of my eye, he was there. I went to anyone who would listen. 3 therapists, 5 doctors, 2 psychologists. But every time, they would just come up with some excuse that I was crazy or schizophrenic or even just imagining the man. I don't know what the man is. I'm not sure if he is a curse. I'm not sure if he's a demon. And I'm really not sure why I'm the only one who can see him. But if there's one thing I am sure of, I'm sure the man is real. He has to be real. Because today was different. There was no man in the corner of my eye today. Only one standing right in front of me, staring right back at me. The end. That was an interesting story, that's for sure. I liked it a lot. I think this protagonist made some absolutely atrocious decisions, that's for sure. One being when it came to him being in the band room and just closing his eyes and then counting to 3 and opening them and running. That to me kind of is not the best way to preserve your life, right? If you know that there's a big dude in there who's at least as strong, to flip over the 200 plus pound filing cabinet and move it into the middle of the room, which, I mean, if you think logically, it probably didn't start in the middle of the room, right? It probably started up against a wall. So if it moved from there to the middle of the room and flipped over, he needs to be at least that strong. So if it's this giant lanky creature that looks freaky, and I know it's at least that strong, I'm not closing my eyes for nothing, right? And again, right, when he was laying on the floor in the hallway, I don't know why he would do that. That's just not very smart to me. So, differences that we could have done here. For starters, don't close your eyes. Use it to your advantage. I feel like I would have realized earlier that the creature didn't want me to look directly at it. But let's say you didn't realize that. I feel like at least by the time it was time for him to, like when he backed up into the creature in the hall and he was close to the exit, that it was a thing that, wanted to be in the corner of his eye but not in his real vision. I would try and start looking at him. I would try and start chasing him around and using that to maneuver myself. I would use that to look straight past him and keep him in the corner of my eye and get really close. And then ideally, if you could, have a spear or a bat or a gun or something and try to get rid of it, right? I feel like, if somebody, let's say if it was a homeless person, right? You wouldn't want to just beat them, right? That'd be crazy, of course. You'd have sympathy. But I feel like if it was like a supernatural creature or like a cryptid or something, I feel like I really just wouldn't have any sympathy and I'd just start beating the crap out of it, Maybe I'm just a little bit different and weird in that way, but I don't know, if some giant creature just started hanging out in the corner of my eye and started destroying stuff, I feel like it's for game, you know, at least in a self-preservation way. And if there's anything I've learned from watching the Nerd Explains videos on YouTube, you know, if there is a creature like that that is just so persistent, then, you know, make sure you go for a double tap, right? I think there's a great metaphor in this if we're kind of shifting towards what can we apply to ourselves in our daily lives, in our character, to be better people. And that is, I think it's easy to get lost in our work. I think that in all jobs, there's things that we have to overlook. There's parts of ourselves that we kind of have to give up to have the job. Whether it be something that's shady, something that you just don't like, or maybe a boss that's just overworking you. Whatever it is, there's a part of every job that's just not ideal, right? And it's wrong. Now, I think, and I've read studies about how Gen Z tend to be a little bit better at this, about saying, you know what, this just isn't right. And not kind of beating themselves up for being too weak or something, but just saying, you know what, I deserve to be treated better. And that's not to say that other people don't deserve to be treated better. It's just that, according to studies that they've done, Gen Z are usually more vocal about that in a workplace environment. So with that being said, I think, again, with a lot of these stories, it comes down to, are the things you're doing a cause that you want to die for? And if not, should you be working as hard as you are at them? Are you working for an hourly type of deal, or are you working on this thing because it's a passion project? I think it's a good idea to keep our priorities straight and focus our energies where they should be. With that being said, I think that's a good thing to ponder. That's a good thing to think about. And I invite you all to think about that. Are you allocating your resources and time and energy where you should be? Are you happy? Are you fighting for a cause that you would die for, or can you even remember why you started this cause? Anyways, if you had any revelations, or if there's anything you would have done differently in this story, or if you would have agreed with me and maybe tried to fight the creature head on, please let me know down in the comments below. Again, I'm CC with the Crucible of Character, and if you made it this far in the video, I do really appreciate it. It means the world to me. And again, we're trying to hit 100 subscribers by the end of the year, and I really appreciate your help with that. Please, if you enjoy the videos, I don't have so many subscribers, and so the odds of you seeing these videos again, just randomly, is pretty low unless you subscribe. So please take a moment to consider that. It is free. I love you all. Goodbye.